Will people in the red please stand up? Oh, they're all in red. Okay, no, I'm just kidding.
The United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible.
All right. Next item is roll call.
All board members are present this evening.
Okay, the agenda, I think the board can see that we've got a team of red sitting out there. I had a request that they could give a presentation today on EV charging stations. And I felt it was a highly qualified group to be able to do so. And so what I'd like to do is add that their presentation to item number 8, and we'll make it B, item B. So it'll be the second one. Okay, so somebody want to make a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
I would move to approve the agenda as amended.
Support, Sylvia. Okay. Vote, please.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper?
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick?
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia?
Sylvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis?
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Hamel?
Hamel, yes.
Motion carries.
All right, the next item is consent agenda approval.
I would move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
Moved and supported. Vote, please.
Mrs. Cooper?
Cooper, yes.
Ms. Frederick?
Yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia?
Sylvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis?
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
Mr. Hamel?
Hamel, yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, so next item is announcements and information. Township office will be closed Monday, February 19th in observance of President's Day. Presidential primary election is February 27th, 2024. And the Oakland County Treasurer's Office is in the final stretch of their foreclosure prevention efforts. The tax foreclosure deadline for 2021 or prior years' taxes is April 1, 2024. If these taxes aren't paid off by April 1st, or any interested party hasn't entered into a repayment schedule with the Treasurer's Office by then, the property will be foreclosed. That's a pretty serious thing for people who own property. So as you guys get older and you purchase land, pay your taxes, because you might have $1 million piece of property, and guess what? You might end up losing it for $3,200. So that's how serious it is. Yes.
I would like to announce that early voting will be open from February 17th through February 23rd here in the Township Auditorium. This will be serving all of Highland residents and all of White Lake residents. And the hours are 8:30 to 4:30 every day except for Thursday, which is noon to 8 p.m.
Go figure. All right, one more. February 21st is Supervisor's Day. That's my birthday. So guess my age.
Let me. No,
I'm gonna be 71. So old man at the counter here. So I can't believe it myself, to tell you the truth. What would I act like, a 20-year-old? Is that what you guys keep saying? Grow up, act like an adult. So all right, enough on the goofing around. So public comment. Anybody have a comment they'd like to make? No public comment. We'll move on to presentations. Item A, swearing in firefighter paramedic Ryan Kidd. So what we'll want you to do is come over here, stand in front of Brian. And And kind of face the audience. There you go. Now we can. All right.
Mr. Kidd, please tell us about your military service in 30 seconds. Thank you. Welcome home. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good job. All right, the next item is the hot team, and we're gonna have a presentation on electric car charger proposal. Let me get you mic'd up here. Okay, go ahead.
Good evening. Thank you for your time this evening. I know you guys have a busy schedule. My name is John Blanchard. I've lived in Highland since the late 80s, 1980s. I'm a retired GM engineer. I worked on V8 powertrains and hybrid vehicles. My wife Maggie and I have two sons that attended Highland Elementary and Muir Middle School and Milford High School. Both boys were members of the Heroes of Tomorrow. The Heroes of Tomorrow, commonly known as the HOT team, is a FIRST robotics team that competes at the high school level. They basically build a robot for competitions. As an additional part of the First of Michigan robotics is community service and community outreach. Basically, the First of Michigan basically encourages the students to get involved in the community and spread the STEM agenda, and encourage the township and other students to get involved in the township, both in community service as well as technical programs and such. The team would like to pursue installing some EV chargers at the Highland Library. There's some space there and they'll be showing you that to you. We have a couple students here tonight to present a proposal to the board for installing the charger. I'd like to introduce Ella, Colin, Heidi, Amelie, and Peter as a couple of the students from the robotics team, as well as the rest of us red shirts. We're mentors for the team. We're basically involved and give instruction and guidance to the students as they build the robot and are involved in their various community activities. So guys, if you want to come up, I'll give the mic over to them and they'll give you a presentation. There is a copy of the presentation in front of you, so you can follow along with that.
Before you get going, I'm going to just add a little bit to that. I was given a presentation, you know, in my office to see if we could get this on the agenda, and we actually put the effort into plumbing, if you want to put it that way, or conduits for wiring for EV charging stations for this building, and they're out and back, so they're already plumbed up. They just have to have wiring pulled through, and I was a little bit more concerned about the library, but in the conversations that we had, there's ways to make it happen. So I thought that this was a really great opportunity, and I wanted to make sure that the board could see it now and not later. So, you know, that's why I had them I wanted to put that on the agenda for tonight. So on that note, thank you guys, and I'm done.
Okay. I'll turn it over to.
Hello, my name is Ella Altsman. I am a sophomore at IA. And I do CAD on the robotics team. So the HUD team was founded in 1997 by GM, who now offers.
Where am I at? Oh, this is good?
Yep, yes, this side.
Okay.
Thank you. Who now GM, we work out of GM, so they offer their facilities to us. So we've done a lot of community work for the community around us and the community outreach, as JB has mentioned, our mentors. And we've gone to the World Championship every year since 1997 and have won 3 of them. The first one being in 2005, when we also won the Impact Award, which is the highest award that you can win in the robotics world. Award similar to that is the Engineering Inspiration Award, which we won last year at our home competition, the Milford District event. So the Engineering Inspiration Award recognizes a team that basically is very committed to both the robotics world and the community around them. So as I mentioned, a lot of community work. So we've done road cleanups, we've done river cleanups, and then also we've done STEM camps at the Highland Elementary right outside and Milford Memories, and then also the Highland Library. And so that is why we want to bring the EV chargers to the Highland Library, because we are very connected with them. And last year's theme for the competition was charged up. So that brought us of, hey, what are some energy resources that we could use instead of just gas? And so that's what brought us here today. Next slide, please.
Hi, my name is Colin. I'm a junior at the IA, and I also do design work on the HOT team. So before getting into exactly the plan we want to propose to you guys today, we should know some basic things about EV vehicles for those of us who don't. So some main things to note on this display are the most important part is the inverter. The inverter is going to take whatever power you're getting out of the wiring you have in the charger and converting that into a DC power to store in the battery. And that converts that back into AC power, which will then power the car so it can keep moving. Another important part of the car is the battery. So in today's world, a EV car battery can store about 250 to 350 miles. So it's about on par with a lot of gas cars. And that will kind of define the sort of range people who will be using these EV chargers will have. And the last important thing to note is the battery charger. So as of now, there are lots of different types of chargers in use. But by the year 2026, the NACS, or North American Charging Standard variety from Tesla, will be the most prominent. So in order to future-proof these chargers and keep them going long into the future, we would want these EV chargers to use the NACS adapting type so that it can charge these cars long into the future and not have to be changed. Slide, please. So when it comes to these types of chargers, there are 3 main types in the variety that we would look at using. So the first type is the oldest type, the level 1 charger. This is a very low cost charger that will provide about 3 to 5 miles of charge per hour, which, while very cheap, is also not a lot of charge for somebody who's going to stop by the library or by the township for a couple of hours. On the opposite end of that, you will have the level 3 DC fast charging. This is by far the fastest, but at the same time, it's quite expensive and is not reasonable in terms of installing that in today's age. So the option that we would like to recommend is level 2 type charging, which will use AC and provides about 15 to 20 miles of range per hour, which if somebody was stopping by the library or by the township, they could plug in their car and get a few miles in before they keep driving on their way, which is very helpful. Slide, please. So in terms of the type 2 level chargers, there's a few different varieties that you can pick from in terms of that. So outside of the brands, there's 2 main things, which are the residential type chargers and industrial chargers. And most of those have several brands and vendors that will sell their several different types of those. But the main thing to note is that on a residential charger, these are, again, much lower cost, running under $1,000. But at the same time, implementing those publicly is difficult because they don't have a card reader. And they also do not have infrastructure that can help support them and keep them freestanding on their own. So we recommend using an industrial type charger, like the 2 blue ones you'll see up there. Those will have a credit card reader that can help generate potential revenue to pay for the power. And additionally, they also can support themselves. So while it will run more expensive, slide please, you can also get more for the amount that you're paying by being able to mount those anywhere you want in the parking lot. And they will run between $3.4 to $4.2 thousand. And then additionally, you can also buy double units that will supply power to 2 cars at the same time. And those are running about $7,000. Thank you.
So our plan to integrate, obviously upon approval, consists of 4 phases. So phase 1, initial research and cost management. Phase 2, financing opportunities. 3, implementation, and 4, future sustainability. Next slide, please.
Pull the mic down just a little bit. Then get right into that thing.
Next slide, please.
Oop. Do my job.
So for phase 1 initial research, we decided that we were gonna do 2 things. We were gonna determine hardware necessities. And out of that, we decided level 2 chargers, as Colin said, would be our best bet. And we would need to supply each charger with 240 volts and 120 amps of power. These chargers are very robust and high quality, so that's why it would be a very good option. And number 2, we would want to find overall cost and funding opportunities. So our goal is to have a net zero cost to taxpayers so that it could just benefit the city overall. We would also want to utilize grants so that we can pay for everything so that we achieve that net zero cost. And these charging stations would have the potential for revenue generation, which could pay for maintenance or other activities around Highland that would need some extra funding. None of the money would go to the hot team. All of it would go to you guys, obviously. So in order to make this installation a possibility, we would need the following. We would need infrastructure that can support the 240 volts, 120 amps per charging station, as I said before. Of course, we need the chargers themselves and a means of mounting them if we went with the home flex type chargers. We would need a location to put the chargers, which I will get to in the next few slides. And we would need signage to alert people that there are EV chargers, where they are, stuff like that. Next slide, please. So this is a photo of a map of the Highland Library. So you can see like the stuff around it. We chose the library to have the chargers as one of our options because we think it would bring people into the community because they come by to charge for an hour and then they could go to the library. They could take a walk down a trail or something, which would be very beneficial to the township overall. So we were looking for 3 things mainly when we were deciding to put these chargers here, and it was close to a power source. So if you see that purple box at the top, that is an electrical box, and as long as it can support the 240 volts, 120 amp per charger, we think that would be a good choice for the power source. And we would also try to make our own new section of pavement so that we would not be taking up parking spaces that are already for like gas cars. And we were thinking 4 spots with 2 charge stations. Those 2 little blue dots are like supposed to represent the double charge station. Next slide, please. As Rick Hamill said earlier, you guys do have the infrastructure here to put chargers outside of this building. So the little blue box, which is outlined in purple, that's that, that's that conduit that you were talking about. And we were thinking again, 4 spots, 2 double charge stations, which would bring people into the township. Thank you.
What's that?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Heidi Pilgrim. I'm a sophomore at IA West and I do machine for the hot team. Sorry, I forgot about that.
Okay, before we get past this slide here, I had a question from our treasurer. Yes, it's indicated in the parking lot, but they didn't have a good image to really place them. They will be in parking spaces that are out there currently. So, you know, it's just this is relative area. It's good enough. I mean,
Currently, it's just showing it on the school parking lot.
Right.
Yeah, because the map's
Okay.
a little bit old, sorry.
Okay.
but I discussed it with them, so I know that. All right.
Does that work? Can you hear me? Perfect. So my name is Amelie. I'm also a sophomore at the IA, and I work on the assembly part of the hot team. So our second phase of this project is our financing opportunities. Some grants that we have researched are specifically the Margaret Dunning Foundation grants, which have donated already up to $1 million and more to other automotive projects. We've looked into grants at the Department of Transportation and grants at the Ford Motor Company Fund, FCA Foundation, National Science Foundation, and the 3M Foundation. And if we were to have this project approved, we would look for more and submit to all of those. Next slide, please. Thank you. One back.
We didn't finish that one?
No, phase 3. We double select. So phase 3 would be
How did I miss that?
implementation. So we want to use the finance opportunities to acquire the funds to implement the chargers at the library at this government township building, sorry. And then we want to get suggested design improvements from the community to make sure that this project can be the best that it can be before we implement it. And then use that feedback to create a standardized design that we can build at other locations if this project were to be implemented. Thank you. Next slide.
Is this good? Hi, I'm Peter Wilner. I am a junior at the International Academy. And for phase 4 of this project, it would be future endeavors regarding this project. As mentioned before, and as mentioned by you, this project ideally would go further than just the Highland Library. We'd like to also implement it at the Township building, and if possible, to help support our community in as many ways as we can, reaching out. Some ways that we would do this would be gaining more funds through the channels that Amelie previously mentioned to repeat this finalized design at other locations. Some ideas that we had in our preliminary research included some local businesses, other libraries, or the Huron Valley school system, etc., depending on what we see the need as and depending on who comes forward as saying that they would like to be a part of this with us. Secondly, we would also meet with proper vendors to bid on this project's continuation. As this is the first of our projects, we've thought about this a little, and it makes sense that we're the ones who have to individually look for an individual electrician who looks out for this, or other individual companies. But further on, to make this a more efficient process, looking for vendors that either have experience in this area or have a network of people would be better. So that way we can make the time it takes to implement this less and less as we go on. And thirdly, we would like to continue this wave of technological development overall so that everyone can benefit, especially the township and the people who reside in it. Next slide, please. The time you've all been waiting for.
Did I go the wrong
So
way?
for your support, we're only asking for a few things. We'd like to ask to use the Highland Township property to put these EV chargers down. As you saw in the previous maps, at the Highland Library and at the Highland Township building, in a different spot than when we saw on the map because we had an outdated map to look at. Secondly, we would like approval to use the Highland Township name in pursuit of these funding opportunities, because some of these grants constitute a city name, and also the city's name carries more credibility than a robotics team for Huron Valley Schools. Thirdly, touching back on that, we would also like to work with available assistance for grant writing so we can bolster the skills of the students in grant writing, but also pursue as many grants as possible to receive as much funding as possible. Thirdly, we'd like your support in helping us contact people who can assist with site preparation, hardware installation, and inspections. As you have other projects in the past, including the building in which we're standing in, I assume, and the team assumes, that you guys are in contact with some contractors, and if you could help us reach contact with them, that would be preferred in the continuation of this project. And fourthly, we would like to work with you all, the township, to create a maintenance program for these chargers. So we're not just going to drop them and say, they're your problem now. We'd like to work with you guys to make sure that these chargers can have good upkeep and that they will continue to be of use to the community for years to come. Next slide, please. After all that, do you guys have any questions?
I do. I gotta go back a slide here. Oh. I I lost my train of thought on what that question was. You guys did too good a job. I'll kind of go back and thank you guys for putting this presentation together. Did a really good job. And at this particular meeting, because this was not on the official agenda, we wouldn't make any decisions about that right now, but we certainly could promote that to move it forward at the next board meeting to have the board approve moving forward so that you guys can do that. The library has its own board, but the land belongs to the township, so it probably could be done under the same authorization, so to speak, but I wouldn't want to step on the library board's approval. I do know that my wife's on the library board and she's in favor of it. And I know that there's others there at the library I've talked to who also see it as a positive thing. I really like the idea that you're driving for grants and you know, it's a good opportunity for you guys to go after these things, to learn the difficulty sometimes of achieving that, how to write a grant, how to be successful. It can be a difficult thing to do, but I think that you've got a good opportunity. If the township's on board with it, that does help. And yes, we can help with, you know, many of the other elements to it. So I think that you've got a great idea. I really appreciate what you're doing. And at some point, things are going to happen with electric cars that either it's going to go full bore or it's going to go along with something else. We don't know that for sure until that time comes. But if you don't have a way to make them run, charge them up, then we're going to support failure. And I think that's the wrong approach. So thanks again. And really proud of you guys for taking on these charge here.
Well, thank you for your leadership, students. Okay, thank you for stepping up and thinking about ways to make improvements. Okay,
Yep.
It takes leaders now and in the future. Thank you. Well done.
Jenny?
So who would get the electric bill for these chargers?
So the electric bill, we'd hope, would be subsidized in part by the credit card readers on the stations themselves. We'd like for that to go into a cycle back to the township, so that way the cost of them can be lowered severely. The cost would be incurred by the township, but we'd like to make that as little as possible, so that way the benefit heavily outweighs the cons and the cost.
Right. So credit card fees, we currently have to pay a company to process our credit cards. We don't get those fees. So I don't know.
So, for example, if we install a meter at that location, BTE would send the township a bill. But if you work with some of these charging companies, like ChargePoint, basically they have a card that, you know, the operators carry. They come up and you can either flash the card or swipe the card, and then basically their card would be charged the fee.
Okay. Okay.
And part of that fee can be sent back to the owner of the station.
Okay.
So say, for example, we put one on Peter's True Value Hardware. Peter's True Value Hardware would reap a little bit of the benefit from this card, as well as the township account would be associated with the DT.
Okay. Also, so you said you would work with the township with a future maintenance plan. So where is that funding coming from?
So as we mentioned now, this is just the preliminary stages of our project. We will work towards finding specifics of that, but we just wanted to tell you that we are looking for a maintenance program. If we had come with you with all of the information, this would be a very different conversation than the one we're having now.
Right.
But as we work forward in a collaboration with the township, we will come to terms on the specifics of that.
So what kind of things need to be maintained? I mean, I'm not familiar with an electric charging
Say,
station.
for example,
A plug broke off or,
say somebody was weed whacking around and damaged the cord fell on the ground, somebody drove over it. Most of the cars are equipped that if it's plugged in, you can't drive away until you unplug it, but things happen. Say a car drives away, pulls the cord out from the charging station. That some of those maintenance might be incurred as well. The idea would be is that we would establish an account with Highland Township to that money would just continually flow into that based on usage. And then if there's any maintenance, we would pull from that account to either replace the cord or, you know, update the signage, fix the pavement.
Right.
And sometimes the manufacturers have programs that, you know, go along with the unit, you know, that you can sign up for. So there are ways to do that, but at least if the driver that drives away with the cord in it, you know who they are. You got their credit card. So.
And I have one more question. So in your presentation, are you asking the township to help write the grants? Was that to kind of collaborate and?
Yes, I think in some instances, depending on where the fund or the foundation is.
Right.
The grant actually, the writing of the grant has to be done by a township, some sort of official government organization.
Yeah, the grants you listed most likely would be a government applicant.
We have also presented to the Huron Valley school system as well, to put in potential chargers at the high school, and potentially even with the elementary school here for teachers.
Right.
They have this grant writer on staff.
Oh, good.
We're working with them to try to figure out exactly how you do the grants as well. And I don't know, that was one of my questions for you was, do you guys have an official grant writer that you could work with?
We do not. But there's several in the office that can help.
I think the key would be that the key would be
Not my
to
office.
actually, you need the township to do it. And I think that we would be the applicant, but you guys probably should be looking at how do we write these grants, and then you work together to make it happen. And, you know, so that's just another step. We'll worry about that part when we find out what your next step is, which is to give us more information. So that's the good thing.
One general question. Historically, have you studied any damages to EV charging stations? I mean, do people steal them, cut the cords, anything like that? Have you looked at any history of that?
We can.
I mean, it's just something you want to think about.
Is, you know, how do we secure it? Is there chargers that are better, you know, equipped to prevent? Because Highland, I think the lighting stays on 24/7 over there. Yes. So most likely there wouldn't be any damage here, you know, or vandalism. That's something that we should.
The library is pretty. Thank you, guys. You did a great job.
Thank you.
One thing I did want to mention, if you're interested, we have our first competition at Milford High School, and that's on March 2nd in the gymnasium area. And hopefully the team will have the robot together, and hopefully you will, right? The hot team is actually very well known. It's known actually around the world as a very competitive team. So hopefully last year we won the competition at Milford, and hopefully we'll do the same thing again, right, team? But we also wanted to extend an invitation to come see where we actually build the robot at the Milford Proving Grounds. If you're interested, contact myself through Rick. If you'd like to come out and actually see where they build it and see the students actually machining parts, assembling the robot itself, and practicing. We have a practice field set up there as well.
Oh, what was the date on that? March
The first competition is March 2nd.
2nd, but
It's actually-
the proving ground thing.
Really, we work over at the Proving Ground Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday morning. Tuesday nights, Thursday nights, Saturday morning. So if you're interested, if you want to come over and just take a tour, one of the mentors or one of the students would be more than happy to give you a tour of the actual area where we build the robot. We have limited access to the Proving Grounds itself, but a few people, I'm a retiree there. A few of the mentors are active employees, and we could probably arrange a little guided tour of the facility as well. So
Where is the competition at?
Milford High School,
Milford High School. Thank you.
at the gymnasium there. Oh, okay. Yeah, so all the timing will be posted on their site if you want to know all the details.
One trivia question. There used to be a program for Robot Wars or something like that. Is that still on?
Battle.
What is it called? I actually enjoyed that program. Is it still on?
Yeah, it's still on.
Thank you.
One of the rules is that it's a friendly competition. There is some contact that occurs between the robots, especially at the high school level. Robots, the limit on the weight of the robot is 150 pounds. 120 pounds, and they move very, very fast. It's actually very exciting to watch them run. So if you can make it over to the competition, we'd be great to see you there. So.
Oh, I know. I had a question for you. Colin, when you were talking about the conversion, can you explain to everybody why you go from AC to DC and back to AC?
You know, like any of those more demonstrations. You have like a little model, but AC is basically spinning the thing around. Coil. And that's how the motor is. Whereas the DC is you're just pushing the electricity through the wire, which isn't as effective as from the motor back.
Right. So what is also involved in that is that it's amperage. You know, so you got DC is going to require a larger wire, so you got a lot more expense, things like that. So AC, you can run a lot more voltage through a lot smaller wire, but it's, you know, you look at that and you go, why do you go from AC to DC to AC? And you know, a lot of people don't really care, I guess. But to me, it's one of those things that I've been electrocuted with DC and I've been electrocuted with AC. So there's a difference. It can make a difference. So anyways, thank you guys. I appreciate it. Yeah, I need more to do. I'll be working on this. I'll tell you, I'll guarantee it.
You look good in red, right?
Well, thank you. All right. Thank you guys. You don't have to stay. You guys can go eat or something, but. Okay, so we're going to move on. And actually, that was a lot of fun.
Thank you again.
Let's see the file.
I got it.
Okay, so the next item is hopefully adoption of board ordinance number 472, private road ordinance amendment. We introduced this at our last board meeting. This was to allow a developer or contractor to develop out the a small, you know, like a small subdivision with only the base coat of asphalt, and then do the final coat of asphalt after the subdivision has been built out, so that they don't destroy the road with construction equipment. And so we would like to make a motion to adopt.
I make a motion to adopt board ordinance 472, private road ordinance amendment.
Support.
Okay,
Yeah.
moved and supported. Any discussion?
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Thank you.
Saving paper. All right, so vote please.
Ms. Frederick?
Yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia?
Sylvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis?
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper?
Cooper, yes.
Mr. Hamel?
Hamel, yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, next item is Michigan Association of Firefighters contract. Nick, move that microphone up to your mouth and a little closer.
Yep.
You're real quiet, so. All right. I don't know how many of you went through and read this, but this is the red line version, so you can see what's been changed from prior things. And my personal interpretation is there's actually, the changes are probably for the better. Yeah, and we didn't have any issues with it when we were discussing it with the union at the time, the individuals that were in the meeting. So if there's something anybody'd like to ask about this beforehand, let's go ahead and ask Nick. Or if there's something that you'd like to point out, Nick, that
It's mostly cleanup. With being new to the new contracts, there's always going to be cleanup we're going to be doing probably for the next couple of contracts. We figure out we worded something a little off that could be taken different ways, so we fix it. Other than that, this contract, a couple things are just, we made it easier and simpler on both sides for the union and for us. Wages, and it's about it, and equaled up holidays, so the holidays are equal between the township and both IFF and MAF, so we all have the same number of holidays. That's pretty much it.
Does our legal counsel have anything to update on that? It's been gone through by our legal counsel pretty good so far.
Yeah, everything that we've sent through, this hasn't gone through the legal counsel that's here. No, it went through our union attorney that we go through. He had no issues with any of it, and
right. Any other questions?
So the wages are bringing the wages up to like what the norm is, and
the paid on call wages for MAF, this one is actually they're pretty good. It's keeping them in line with the wages that our full timers getting, and also the area is getting for cost of living, things like that.
how many on call do we have now?
Right around 26, I believe, right now.
Right. Any other questions? Can we entertain a motion? Good.
Make a motion to approve the contract as specified as written.
Support. Okay, moved and supported. Vote please.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia,
Salvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis.
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Miss Frederick,
Yes.
Mr. Hamel.
Hamel, yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Okay, next item. Item 10. Heidi at the activity center needs help. So she's asking for an administrative assistant to do a multitude of things. And the starting salary that she's asking for is $17.60. Considered part-time, accruing PTO, not to exceed 29 hours per week. So anybody like to make a motion to approve that?
I would move to approve is this for the posting or?
Yeah, this is just for her.
I would move to approve the posting for a part-time floater for the activity center, not to exceed 29 hours per week. Starting salary is $17.60 an hour.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. Any discussion? Vote please.
Mr. Salvia,
Salvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis.
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Miss Frederick,
Yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Hamel.
Hamel, yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, next item is, let's see here, ordinance assistant. As I hope everybody realizes, the fire marshal is also our ordinance officer. And years ago, we started out with him doing part for us and part for fire department, and the ordinance enforcement and the fire marshal has gotten to a point where it's getting pretty hard to be able to handle the load. And so Sean, the fire marshal, has requested some help. And I think it's something that we certainly need to do. So this is a request. I'm going to this is a request for a posting of it for the job opening of a part-time employee to fill his position of ordinance officer assistant. The position will be responsible for assisting the fire marshal and the ordinance enforcement office combo with administrative and clerical support by receiving and processing applications, ordinance inquiries, and rental inspections, as well as working with the township staff to achieve established programs, processes, and goals. The starting salary would be $21.05 per hour. Applicant will be considered a part-time employee accruing PTO and not to exceed 29 hours per week. So this is a request to post.
Cooper support.
All right, so I'm make that a motion for my part. So you got support. Any questions?
I just had a quick question. In our meeting, we've had different community members raise questions about the necessity of having additional support in the ordinance area, because of all the different ordinance issues. Will this assistant have the same authority as our, basic?
The ordinance officer?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I don't think that, no, I think the ordinance officer has the final authority, but what happens is that this individual would be able to engage in communications that would stop it from becoming an overload where you don't get good feedback or not enough time or timeliness. So it's to improve the whole process. It would not be an ordinance officer. Okay.
And just another quick question. Is there an extensive training period that is necessary for this type of thing, or a special degree, or can anybody just get on the job training and be able to do it?
It's pretty much essentially secretarial and on the job, but it's not a complicated thing. It's not like they have to memorize all the ordinances or stuff. It's just but it'd be on the job training. All right. Any other questions?
Will this person be housed here or at the fire hall?
At the fire hall.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to make sure it's clear, this would be paid out of general fund
Correct.
purely.
Because what did you say? That's next. All right, so vote on that, please.
Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Ms. Frederick,
Yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes, Mr. Salvia,
Salvia, yes.
Mr. Hamel,
Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
Okay, the next item, make a motion to get the board's approval to amend the budget for $31,743 to be added to line item 101-701 704.005 to hire a new part-time ordinance officer assistant.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. Vote please.
Mr. Howe,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Ms. Frederick,
Yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes, Mr. Salvia,
Salvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Hamel,
Okay, Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
Okay, the next item, the exciting item, and it is, today we had the Cassie and I and Beth had the opportunity to meet with Isaac Hanna, which is IWH Companies, who owns the old lumber yard, and with the school board to talk about moving forward with a development project on this corner. The object of meeting with the school board is in order to move this project forward, one of the elements is septic. So the school board is taking it to the CFO and the superintendent are going to take this to the school board, which had already heard this in 2019, and then COVID hit. So they're very much on board with this. They want to try and help. And then the other side of it is that this developer would supply water to the school from the township owned water system. So we're trying to figure all the ways that the parties work together so that we can all accomplish something that benefits everybody. And one of the things is the developer who owns the land, Isaac Hanna, in order to get the proposed company, which is Sheets, to go through with this project, they would prefer to have the corner. Now, if you look up on the screen, this is where the train station is at. And I know this has been brought up before because we took it to the DDA and I did talk about this a while back. One of the things that the proposal is that the train station gets moved or a new one gets built in a different location. So, and in exchange for that, the township would hopefully see fit to exchange the movement of the train station for the property. Now you have to remember that that property is, let's see if I have here's an overall view. It's a triangle like this. Can you see the little pointer up there or not? So what that does is it allows for a more open pathway for movement on the site for the company that wants to do the development. And the other part is that if we chose not to do it, what would end up happening is the development would be where a building would probably get built here and you'd see the back of it, and another building get built here and you see the back or the side of it. And really you end up with a train station with a backdrop of a bunch of meters and conduit and black walls, that kind of thing. So the optimum is to build a facility that opens that corner up and really becomes a focal in its own right as a new development, helps really make that corner look nice. We have gone to the DDA. The DDA has agreed that it would, they're on board with moving the train station. And the move would be to right here in Veterans Park. So you've got the canopy over the, the police station there, and it would be here and it would face south. And then Veterans Park would get a complete makeover after the movement. But so what we need to do is we need to, as a township, agree to, I guess, allow the property to be put up for sale. And sale meaning exchange or subject to, yeah.
I have two questions.
Yeah.
So if obviously the septic's a big part of it at the township, at the old Highland school property, is the elementary school going to be tapping into that for the septic? Is that something, I think we talked about that before. Maybe I'm mistaken on that. Will they be hooking into that septic system?
Well, there's,
I understand
right
the water.
now, well,
I understand the water components coming
Yeah.
over, but are they going to be tying into the septic?
So what would happen is the current proposal is that right here where those trees are at, in this area right here, within the right of way, of course, not within the right of way, but within the property, would be a section that would have a septic field. And over here, they would have their series of tanks required to filter the
Okay.
effluent, and then it would be pumped over there. Now, the school, right now, there's a septic field that takes up all of this space right here. It's like 56,000 square feet.
Oh, okay.
And this is the septic tank for it right here.
Oh.
Yeah, no. For the old school. So that field is completely intact. And so one of the conversations we had today was the school will do some research to see if that field is still viable.
Gotcha.
If that field's viable, then they would not necessarily build a new system, but they would open that system up. And then that also brought open some question as to maybe if we're going to do that, that we could look at expansion of the whole concept. But right now it's just in exchange for the use of this land with some type of a lease or something. It's still to be determined exactly how it goes. Then what'll happen is there'll be an 8-inch line. It'll come down Ruggles, go to here. There'll be a fire hydrant put in. Hard to see up there, isn't it?
The old
Then the
sidewalk.
4-inch line will come down and it'll go follow the school road and go down to and be hooked up to the school. So they'll get new water, clean water.
Good.
So and I think the school's excited about that. So anyways,
one
in
more-
order to really make this thing happen, I would hate to see that we put a crunch on it and then all because we need to quote keep that. And here's the problem is that right now the farmers market was doing great on that corner, but we were paying rent to park on that property. Well, when that's developed, there's no parking there. So this becomes even more unusable than more than just it's a gateway. If we move it, then there's no reason for us to have that piece of property. It's polluted to begin with. I mean, it's an old gas station. And we move it down to the park. Now we have a built-in band shell. We can move the flag poles over into this corner. Now you've got the veterans, because we have a veterans monument here that the steel one that was Eagle Scout put in, and then we move this over with it, and then we repurpose the whole park so that it works better for the concerts and for other activities downtown. So, and that's something the DDA can help work on, so design and what have you. But originally that project for that was done through the DDA, so it's kind of a yes.
Second question. So we're back to Sheets again? Is that the company from down south?
For now, yeah.
Okay, now what does it still have to do with the guy that owned the?
The guy that owns it will still own the property,
Okay,
and then Sheets will have a lease on top of
I
that.
got you. Okay, I guess maybe, is that the plan all along? Maybe I was confused before when we talked about.
Well,
this.
if Sheets decides they don't want to do it,
He's gonna,
like if you took the corner out, then they would say, well, that screws up our
Gotcha.
program, then he will still develop it.
okay, that's right. Okay, all right, thank
But
you.
he still would like to have that moved if he could.
Okay, thank you.
Because what'll happen is then he will be able to combine all the parcels. There's multiple parcels in there. There's probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 4 to 5 parcels in there.
How much what are we talking about? How much, no, I know what it is, but I mean, what is the actual size of that? Do you know? I mean, I'm just curious. We're talking a few acres. I mean, I don't know what does that come down to? I mean, this is a question for me. I'm just curious. What do you think?
It's 40,000. It's probably 40,000. It's almost an acre.
Okay, all right, thanks.
And then the other thing that happens is the new building will be brought back. You know, it has to come back into the required setback zone. So it won't be sticking out there on M59. There won't be any buildings out that far. So it'll be back here where and back. So all the activity is from the back side. Okay, so
Thank you for
really
all your
excited for
answers.
this, yes.
So I also sit on the DDA, and this was a project done many years ago to create a gateway for our downtown. And I think it would be great to move it to Veterans Park if we have to move it. I mean, that will give us a place. Unfortunately, we won't have the exposure for the farmer's market on M59, but it would be a good place for it at Veterans Park.
Well, I would hope that with the farmer's market, that now the word's out there, you'd hope no matter where we move it to, yeah, you might miss a few people on 59, but you hope where we move it, the word is out now and people will still come back and, bring a friend or two or something. So hopefully that'll be the case.
This is probably not the place for this discussion, but the farmer's market has, I wondered if it had been brought into the conversation with the schools to move it to that field there with 59 exposure. Just a
It could be broached, but,
I mean, just a thought. I think the M59 exposure is enormous.
the hardest part is that, if you turn their lot into a parking lot, they're not real keen on that. Yeah. So, and the septic field would be in that area, but we have to keep all the doors open. And I have to say that the school's been very receptive to this. Yeah, there's lots of potential. Yeah. All right, so,
Is there an agreement being worked on?
yes,
And will we see a drawing of what the new design for that area will be?
yeah, in other words, what we're gonna do is the question we have now is the township willing to sell that property? So if the board says, yes, we're willing to sell the property, and would we be willing to do it as an exchange? Then that's what he needs to be able to move forward with his agreement so that they can go through with the design process. There's no trading of selling of the property or trading the property off until we have the information we need to, so. But they have to know that it's available. If it's not, then they have to, they'll take a different path, so. Yeah, I'd like to move that, we offer the parcel number 11-222-352-005, located at the corner of North Milford Road and M59, to IWH Companies in exchange for the moving or rebuilding of the existing train station to a place of our choosing.
So relocating,
Yep, relocate.
moving, rebuilding and relocating. Okay.
Yep, so it's either rebuild it or relocate it but any combination thereof.
I second.
Oh, boo.
All right, moved and supported. Vote please. Sure.
So would that be the cost of the property is moving the ticket station, just to
Yeah.
clarify? Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. I just want to make sure I understood it right.
Okay. Vote.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick.
Yes.
I'm not altogether closed off to this idea. I think there's potential to it. I'm just not prepared without more, like an agreement or a drawing or, some kind of, so that we would know what it's gonna look like, because we're giving up a very nice entrance.
We're not selling it.
I'm just explaining my vote. So I'm gonna vote no for now. Mr. Sylvia,
I support the idea, but I think we really maybe subject it to seeing some kind of plan. We just vote to do it. We don't really know what it's going to look like. So I think it should be subject to some kind of design aesthetically or what it's going to look like. So I would support it, but I would probably ask that we maybe amend the
Let me clarify the motion. The motion is we're not going to sell this to him now. I'm just saying that we want to be able to sell this parcel of property if it comes up to this individual. Well, we can say with a final approved plan,
Okay,
but
so making it available does not mean we're approving for the sale.
we're approving it to be available.
Making
for
it
sale.
available for sale, but we're not approving a sale yet. We're not approving a sale yet. We're just making it available for sale. Okay.
So they know we're on board, right? So they know we're on board. So
Right.
Before, yes.
All right. Which is what we have to do as a board is we have to say that we're willing to sell it. You can't just put it up there and done, so we have to agree that we're willing to sell that piece of property. We're willing to sell it. Doesn't mean we're going to sell it to them. It's just we're willing to sell it to it.
Looking to entertain offers, right? I mean, that's what we're looking for. I mean, it's, in a sense, I mean, that's what we're talking about here, which is good.
Why? We haven't finished yet. You have a majority. You may have a majority.
I was having a question on it. And my question was, I want to make sure that we know the outcome of any potential sale. I understand. Okay. I support Salvia, yes.
Great.
You're voting yes.
Beth?
Louis, yes.
Mr. Howe,
Big yes.
Mr. Hamel,
Yes.
motion carries.
And I will reinforce that there will be drawings of everything it has to go in front of the planning commission. It's got to go before it even comes to us, so there's a lot involved in this before it happens. So
Can I ask another quick question? Would this lock sort of, for use of a better term, lock this into just selling to the one entity? I mean, what if in the meantime, somebody else had an even better offer? Would this say that we're not going to sell to anybody but this one company?
no, that's not. I did include his, with the intent to sell to IWH companies. So,
Can I respond?
huh?
Can I respond to her question?
Sure.
So Beth, that property wouldn't be useful to anybody else. So the red triangle that you saw, that's the only buildable space. The rest is road right of way. So the only thing they could fit there would be a small building, like a little tiny coffee shop or something. And it really only benefits whoever owns that corner
And there's no parking.
or us. And there's no septic. That red line, that is small. That's the only part that we actually own. The rest is that road right away, right?
Right.
Thank you. Thanks for the explanation.
Yeah. And if I recall, I don't think the township paid for that parcel. That was a byproduct of the taxing. Yeah. It worked perfect for what was there at the time, and it helped beautify an ugly corner. But now what we have to look at is where do we move into the next phase, and
Well, and I think the township and the DDA envisioned people sitting there, and having their lunches, and that doesn't really happen. The most activity that we had was farmers market when they came.
all right. So on that note, thank you guys for voting on that. Appreciate it. And that's the end of today's show. So on that note, I adjourn this meeting.